Silver Doctors will also be posting some of the latest and greatest internet videos pertaining to finance, economics, and precious metals. If you aren't already a subscriber to the Silver Doctors YouTube channel, become one today for free and receive some of the best commentary in the precious metals space daily. SilverDoctors.com.
Hey everyone, this is Elijah Johnson with SilverDoctors.com, and with us today is Rob Kirby from KirbyAnalytics.com. Rob, thank you so much for joining us today.
Pleasure to be with you, Elijah.
All right. Well, I'd first like to discuss about the presidential election. Now, we were just talking before we, hit record that, in your view, the presidential election is just turning into this comic show, comic, and that it's just getting really dark, and we're seeing basically the elite do whatever they can to disqualify Trump and stop him from winning the presidency. Did you want to discuss a little bit about this?
You know what? I think it's a great jump-off point. And yes, indeed, I think that the political season in America has turned into something akin to Python-esque comedy, but in the very, very darkest sense. What we're witnessing is a complicit and bought and paid for media absolutely aligning themselves with the globalist, ridiculously globalist cause, and it is so blatantly obvious. It's shameful. I would like to say, to preface what I'm saying here by saying I am not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I am really not anything. I am an observer of political process, and what I see occurring is a disgrace. It's a disgrace to humanity, and anybody with any kind of a fair mind sees this for what it really is, and it is a disgusting show. The latest WikiLeaks dump is highly suggestive that the aligning of the media behind the Clintonista cause and the exposure of a manufactured Donald Trump hit campaign is very likely being conducted by the highest levels of the Republican Party, which means that the man's own party is turned on him. But we knew that right from the beginning anyway. We've got a candidate in Hillary Clinton who is very likely near death with her degenerative medical condition. The whole thing could not be sadder, nor more damaging to the prestige and the lineage and the representation of the good people of America. I mean, it is extremely sad what we're witnessing right now. And I don't believe it's really lost on anybody, anywhere in the world, and how damaging this has all been to the American name and to American prestige is unbelievable. It's frighteningly scary.
No, where do you see us going from here? I mean, it seems like the rhetoric is just getting darker and darker, and it seems like we're just going into a hole. Can you predict right now, from what you're seeing, who you think will end up winning the presidency in November?
Okay, that question is a little bit multifaceted, but let's just say this. Another revelation that came out yesterday, along with the WikiLeaks dump, is that a Democrat tactic in elections has been that they effectively commit voter fraud and election rigging, let's just say with regards to advanced polling, they sequester or they round up a large contingent of people who have who are homeless, who have no means. They literally gather them, put them on buses. They pay them a stipend, and they bus them around from one polling district to another, and they give them names of people who are known not to vote or people who are deceased, and they have them vote maybe as many as 10 times in a day, busloads of people, literally going from one polling district to the next, and this tactic and the notion that this occurs was revealed by none other than the head of the Democrat, polling person in New York. I mean, this surfaced yesterday. I have never heard of anything more polluted. I have never heard of anything that reeks of rigging, that reeks of fraud. And this is something that exists without a doubt. That because there was a headline that surfaced yesterday saying that Trump could be in trouble before the actual election date because the advance polls may tip things in favor of Hillary Clinton, and like the only way anybody could be in the know to make such a statement would be basically if they know that such things were going on. You see, I don't believe any of the polls as they're being presented, because the polls that are being presented by the mainstream, whether it's CNN or whether it's Bloomberg, it's all been admitted that what they're doing is they're oversampling known Democratic supporters in favor of Republican supporters, and of course they're achieving the desired result in their polls, showing that Hillary Clinton is 10 points ahead. But just let it be known to the listeners that if I do a poll where I sample 1,000 people, if I sample 600 known Democrats and then phone and sample 400 Republicans, known Republicans, or unknown people, I will have a highly skewed result favoring the Republicans. And under such a scenario, if I conduct a poll where I sample 600 out of 1,000 known Democrats, to then have a result where Hillary Clinton is 10 points ahead, it's actually very condemning to Hillary Clinton. You see, I truly don't believe Americans are going to vote for a corpse. And Hillary Clinton, in my view, is something akin to a corpse. Hillary Clinton is not physically capable of fulfilling or, executing the office of the presidency. I'm not a Trump fan. I am an anti-globalist supporter. Anyway, my disdain for Hillary Clinton is very similar to my disdain for George Bush Jr., who was another fool, or conducting fool's work on behalf of globalists. And Hillary Clinton is George Bush Jr. on steroids, and it's a disgrace, and it's so unbecoming to the country that I've grown up knowing as the greatest country in the world, America. It's an utter shame and a disgrace to humanity what we are witnessing.
Now, so are you saying because the polls are rigged, you think Trump still has a very good chance of winning?
Realistically, I truly believe that Trump, if we can have or if America is capable of having a fair election, or anything close to a fair election, I think that Trump will steamroller over Hillary Clinton. In my view, Hillary Clinton has zero populist support. Zero. She is not a contender in a true and fair election. Period. That's my view.
All right. Now I'd like to move to viewers' questions, and one actually is pertaining to the election. The viewer, in their mind, says that basically the establishment has won, and unfortunately it looks like Hillary will be the next president. I guess you can answer this question based on whoever you think will win. Or you can say in either scenario what will happen. They're wondering, what is the timeline for the economic collapse when she takes office? It seems like it will happen very quickly. So to kind of rephrase that, if Hillary wins, what do you see the timeline of the economic collapse being? And if Donald Trump wins, what do you see the timeline being?
Well, my view is that Hillary Clinton is the war candidate, and Donald Trump, in my view, is the détente candidate. And realistically, I think that we very quickly, should Hillary be named the president of your great country, I think we very quickly could transition to total war. And let's just take the gloves off and say what it really is. I think we transition very quickly and could be in a position where we have a nuclear war. Let's just say the end of humanity. And I do believe with her bellicose and ridiculous demonization of Russia, who has been acting on the global stage with responsibility and basically been treating the whole situation, whether it's Syria or whether it's the situation in the Ukraine and the Crimean Peninsula. She's been acting, Vladimir Putin, in my view, has been acting with responsibility and a very, very go safe approach. And the neocons is a synonym for the globalists who have seized control in a stealth coup of America and are using the American military as their bitch on the planet that we happen to inhabit. This is a very, very, very dangerous situation and could precipitate the downfall of humanity. So Trump is well on the record that he's for détente and for let's just say rational and reasonable anti-globalist actions as the way forward, which in my view suits me just fine, because I happen to be an inhabitant of this planet, and my view of what the globalists are putting forward, their agenda is well known and it's well stated in their own writings. It's eugenics based. It's anti-human. And these people that are the globalists, their view of the world is and their view of a better world is a world where instead of 7 billion people who currently inhabit the planet, they think that the planet would be much better off if we had 500 million people. So they're basically trying to, or putting forward, an agenda where 6.5 billion of us no longer exist. Do the math.
This is actually a question about possibly a war also. So this viewer is wanting to know about what the fallout of a financial crash and or a war, where it would be felt around the world. Would it be felt around the world evenly, or would certain regions be less affected?
The regions that will be most affected with a financial crash, which is coming, by the way, whether we have a war or not. You see, the reality is, if the globalists are able to insert Hillary Clinton into the leadership of America, we will have war quicker. A global crash is coming nonetheless. Regardless of who comes into power in America, we are going to have a global reset in terms of, currently, as we speak, the U.S. dollar is the world's reserve currency. This will not be the case on a go-forward basis. At some point, there will be a reset. The dollar will be kicked off of its perch as the global reserve currency, and we've seen the beginning of this already. In that we saw the Chinese currency be included in the SDR basket previous to 2 weeks ago on Friday at the end of September. Previous to that, the SDR basket was made up of 4 currencies, namely the U.S. dollar, the British pound, the euro, and the Japanese yen. And as of the end of September, the global SDR basket is now including the Chinese currency, and the Chinese currency currently, or let's just say from a dead start, the Chinese currency now makes up, I believe it's 11.9% of the SDR. This is ultimately a basket which is its relevance will likely grow with time, and it will be the means by which countries settle trade accounts going forward. And what this means is that countries' reliance on or affinity to hold dollars to settle global trade accounts for things like crude oil and wheat and a host of commodities that are all traded in dollars on a go-forward basis. You will increasingly see that these staple commodities and globally important commodities will be increasingly traded in other than dollars. This, in turn, will precipitate that countries will want to hold or will factually hold less dollars in their reserve accounts. And this is in direct contradiction or in direct rebuke of the amount of dollars that are being printed. And this will create a big problem going forward. This will create inflation on a go-forward basis, and this is a conclusion or an outcome which is unavoidable. And this is not an emotional diatribe that I'm saying. This is fact, and this will occur. And the only thing that's open for question is how quick, and how quick the shoe drops. And who drops the first shoe? My intuition tells me, Elijah, that very likely in the very near future we're gonna hear an announcement from somebody like Saudi Arabia that they are selling crude oil not only in dollars, but they're selling crude oil in Chinese currency as well. These are things that are in the pipe, and they are coming.
Now, one of the other concerns that people have is the amount of debt that the U.S. and other countries around the world have racked up. Now, this viewer is wanting to know, what is your take on a debt jubilee? Is it possible all worldwide sovereign debt might be wiped out, leaving private debt intact?
Well, my view is that ultimately all sovereign debt will be wiped out, or American sovereign debt will be wiped out, but I honestly do not believe it will be via jubilee. It will effectively be through default or very rapid debasement of the currency, which will and likely should touch off a very severe bout of hyperinflation in America.
Now, this next viewer is Matt Coppola, and he's wanting to know, how would you diversify your long-term investments in these economic conditions?
Physical precious metals, storable food, and a means to protect both of the above. And let's just be really straight on this. Probably more important than any of the three former might be to get to know your neighbors, congregate with like-minded individuals, because the adage, there is safety in numbers, in all likelihood, could never be truer. And I do believe that there is safety in numbers, and or well-being, or likelihoods of being better off in numbers is going to be the way of the day. And the other thing that a lot of people probably overlook and don't really consider is get your spiritual house in order. And I'm not overly religious, but I would say that people should have their spiritual houses in order, because you're gonna need it going forward, because we are entering some very trying times, and they're likely to become more trying as time goes along.
Now, this viewer is wanting to know about the recent Deutsche Bank issue. They're wondering, why is the U.S. Department of Justice imposing a $14 billion fine on Deutsche Bank? Are they not pushing it over the cliff? Are they confident that if Deutsche Bank collapses, U.S. banks will not be affected? And do they think the contagion will just be local to the European Union?
My view of what is occurring with regards to Germany, I do believe that German populism is dictating that German sovereign interests are pivoting east. The rank-and-file Germans are very upset that America has imposed sanctions on Russia. This has materially harmed German industry and materially harmed European trade interests. And as a result, Germany has been turning or pivoting east, and German populist support is behind better relations with Russia than worse relations with Russia, as being dictated by the globalists who run America. You see, the American globalist interests are not happy with Russia because Russia isn't playing the globalist game, because they have a leader in Russia who is anti-globalist. And this has rankled and upset the globalist leadership of America. And German populism is pivoting that way. And it's no coincidence, Elijah, that we've seen an escalation in punishment to Germany. It began with the environmental boom being lowered on Volkswagen over the diesel engine situation, and if you believe in coincidences, let me just state for the record that 1 week before Volkswagen was levied, what was it, an $18 billion fine by the Justice Department. 1 week prior, Volkswagen announced that they had opened an engine plant in Russia. And lo and behold, 7 days after that announcement that the engine plant was opened, they were hit with an $18 billion fine. My my personal view, based on what I have read and my own personal research, is that Volkswagen is guilty of nothing more than what American automakers are engaged in, or Japanese automakers are engaged in, and yet they have an $18 billion fine. I do believe that the fine was very much connected to their opening of an engine plant in Russia. But of course, our Western media doesn't report that. But just as our Western media does not report the criminal complicity of the globalist candidate Hillary Clinton, just as they manufacture bogus news reports about the misdoings of one Donald Trump. So, the current accusations being levied against Deutsche Bank are nothing, in my view, other than an escalation of said conduct, because this is what's going on, and I mean, effectively, I view the ongoing demonization of Deutsche Bank as an escalation, and there's been some the other way too, because I believe it was a couple weeks before allegations against Deutsche Bank surfaced. I believe the European Union were making allegations that Apple, would, a big American concern, was in violation of tax code or tax treaties in Europe, and I think they are trying to jam Apple with a very similar size. I believe it was 14 or 15 billion U.S. in tax violations. So what we have is an emerging, undeclared trade war that's erupting between European and American interests, and this likely doesn't have a good ending, because what we're really witnessing is a trade war. Our media, of course, is shamefully derelict, and will never report it for what it really is. But just like they shamefully will not report the true condition of Hillary Clinton's health, and they shamefully will not report the true nature of what's going on regarding populism versus globalists. I mean, it's completely and utterly lost in the dirty laundry. The reality, we are living in a vacuum where people are not being given proper information to make proper, choices. It's sad. It's cathartically sad.
This viewer wants to know, what do you think was the real reason behind the British pound flash crash last week?
Britain is being taken to the woodshed because the British people stood up and said, we have had enough of globalism. We want to chart a different course. The British population is awake, much like you see. If you can think about the parallels between pre-Brexit vote in Britain and what's going on in America right now. Prior to the vote in Britain, whether to remain with the euro or to exit the euro, all of the polls suggested that the forces to stay in the euro would have a landslide win. And the reality is that the British people basically gave the middle finger to the globalist cause and said, nay, we want out. You see, but this is similar to the same kind of rubbish that we're being fed by the mainstream media in America, that Hillary is and the Democrats, have a commanding lead in polls. What they're trying to do is manage perception, just as the globalist forces tried to manage perceptions in Britain by saying that the pro-Euro forces were heavily in the lead prior to the Brexit vote. America's getting fed the same line of garbage to try and manage perceptions. And the reason they try to manage perceptions is most people like to identify themselves with the winning side. And the winning side, in my view, is not for the globalist candidate Hillary Clinton in America. So, I see strong parallels between what's occurring in America right now and what we saw in Britain just before their vote.
All right. Well, Rob Kirby, I believe we've come full circle here. Before we let you go, did you want to share with the viewers any last thoughts you had and where they can find you online?
My last thoughts. We are living in unprecedented times. We are in for, I believe, very likely a very, very rough road going forward. My suggestion is that people try to do prudent things with regards to their financial well-being and to their existence. My recommendation: own some physical precious metal if you don't already. Own some storable food if you don't already, and having some means to protect both of the former is probably a very, very smart idea.
Once again, your website is KirbyAnalytics.com?
Yep. You can find me on the web right there.
Once again, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure being with you.